Let me let you in on a little bit of a secret as to how I'm feeling this trade deadline period. So there are so many rumors, so many things tossed out there that if I tried to grab whatever topics there are, it would really just be one apple in the barrel of many, many gosh darn apples. That golden ticket is not going to be there because there are so many rumors. It's tough to really localize on one, so we kind of have to go with the flow here, right? See which one is the biggest and talk about those, while kind of putting off to the side all the other rumors and ideas that are tossed out there. Which is why a video like this is very fun to make at this time of the year. Because we're not going over somebody who's going to get traded, we're not going over somebody who is on the market or whom the Red Wings are interested in. No. Today, what we are doing is talking about the most unexpected and crazy redemption story the Detroit Red Wings have exhibited this season, and it's not for a guy whose name you're gonna expect. No, we're not talking about Lucas Raymond and his point production this season. No, we're not talking about Patrick Kane and his crazy return ever since the surgery. Sure, we can highlight that a little bit in this video, but not that much. We can talk about Alex Lyon, but we already made that video a few months ago. Today, what we're doing is talking about the redemption of one of the biggest, meanest, toughest, and potentially, in some people's perspective, overvalued defenseman in the league. Today, we are talking about Ben Chiarot. Because man, oh man, has this guy been on a redemption tour. And I wanted to go out there and explain some of the context behind this, what's gone on with his game recently, and why Wings fans are starting to turn the tide on what Chiarot has to offer. This is because Ben Chiarot is still the big 6'3", 234 left-handed defenseman at 32 years old that he is, signed till the end of 2025-2026, making $4.75 million a year. It's a pretty beefy cap hit for a guy who was brought on as a free agent last offseason. And this was a pretty particular move that a lot of Red Wings fans said, okay, hold up. What are we doing here? Stevie Y, I get it, you're trying to sign transitory players, middle-aged guys that can improve the quality of the roster right now, and help provide a leadership and mentorship kind of core that these younger players can build off of. Okay, that's why you got Kopp, that's why you got Comfort, that's why you got Chiarot, that's why you got Justin Hall. But what the hell, bro? Are you serious? Ben Chiarot made his bread and butter with the Winnipeg Jets, Canadiens, and Florida Panthers for being just an absolute brute force. Not a defenseman that you'll expect any significant point production out of. Sure, he had a 20-point season with the Jets in 2018-19, but other than that, this was just a brick wall of a player. A guy who would make his opponents' lives a living hell, with cross-checks, physicality, and board battles. He's kind of a dying breed of hockey players nowadays. Guys who pretty much just enforce physical toughness and difficulty in their respective roles. And sure, while he only had 2 points when the Montreal Canadiens went to the finals in 2021, he played 22 games played and was seen as an instrumental part to that run. Him, Edmondson, Weber, Petrie, all big guys, all players who could play with a physical edge, and look, this became a shutdown top four for the ages that just did not relent against their opponents. It was a very particular style, and it worked. It got the Canadiens to the 4th round. The year after, you saw Chiarot get traded away to Florida for a first-round pick that was seen as somewhat of a big deal because nobody really thought that guy, of all people, could have gone for the first. And then he was a free agent, and he signed the current contract he's got with Detroit. Now, last year he had 19 points in 76 games played, and this year he's at 15 points in 51 games played, on pace for about 23 points, which would be a career high. But last season, when he suited up for his first of 4 years with Detroit, a lot of people went out there and hated on Ben Chiarot quite frequently, because this was a guy who, despite his physical prowess, was just not a very good hockey player. Like, he didn't make the best breakout passes, he didn't make necessarily the best reads in his own zone. Sure, he was physical and he was dominant in that way, but Ben Chiarot really found himself as the scapegoat for a lot of Detroit displeasure last year. And this year, you could say, there may have been sort of a similar sentiment up until the last few weeks or so. You see, Ben Chiarot has started to turn things around. starting out with that overtime goal he had scored the other night to seal the deal for the Wings against the Seattle Kraken. And then, last night, as Patty Kane ended up ending the game against the Colorado Avalanche in extra time, guess who the secondary assist was? It was Ben Chiarot, who dropped the puck off to Dylan Larkin, who went over to the side and centered it out for Patrick Kane. One-time shot, it's in the back of the net. Ben Chiarot has started calling himself the overtime assassin. And this is one of these things where you start to wonder, where exactly was this in his game all this time? Maybe not the assassinating games in overtime part, but just the offense. Here's a comment made by Ryan from the Grindline Pod. Can we just say that Ben Chiarot, for a while, has been playing really good hockey? Because I'm just gonna say it. Even the replies go out there and say, yeah, his effort on the penalty kill, his overall play, he's positive now, he's starting to look good, and it's not even just on Twitter. Go over to the subreddit, you can see this post made by Complete Image 6925. I think all of us, if not at least definitely me, owe Mr. Ben Chiarot an apology for all the crap we talked about him last year. I'm sorry for saying that you were holding Moritz Seider back. And one of the top comments goes out there and says something that I wanted to talk about. He's going to be an absolute effing beast for us in the playoffs. He'll really thrive when the rules don't matter. I agree. The dude was a menace with the cross-checks for the Montreal Canadiens. And this really is one of these things that you start to understand where value comes from when evaluating certain players and their dollar amounts. Ben Chiarot was never a $4.7 whatever million hockey player because of strictly his defensive shutdown ability or his offense. He's a guy that you pay $4-point-something million to because when you're in the playoffs, when you're in the heat of no rules, no holds barred, anything goes kind of hockey, Ben Chiarot is one of those guys that just absolutely terrorizes the opposition. He gives you that much more of an oomph in terms of being able to control play, control the opposition's team's emotions, control the physicality, and put things in your favor. Even if it's ever so slightly, a big hit from a guy like Ben Chiarot, a shutdown play, a dominant cross-check in front can prevent a goal, and that can prevent the winning of a period, which could prevent the winning of a game. If Ben Chiarot is able to execute 2 or 3 big, vicious cross-checks in a playoff game, that could be the difference between winning in 7 or losing in 6. The evaluation of what this player is actually worth is way different, and it's a lot easier to see that value when he's actually playing good hockey and not turning things over and not making terrible reads in the neutral zone. His entire narrative of, oh yeah, this guy's the reason Moritz Seider won't develop, Stevie Y, what did you do? That entire thing was huge last year. But good things come to those who wait, I guess, and waiting for Ben Chiarot to become good, while it definitely wasn't something that I had on my bingo card, it's a very welcome change for this Detroit Red Wings squad. And as for that playoff race, I mean, the Wings right now are in the first wildcard spot. They've got 1 point up on Tampa Bay with 2 games in hand. They've got 1 extra game played than Washington, but they're 6 points ahead, so their points percentage is a lot better. It's looking more and more likely that the Detroit Red Wings are going to make the playoffs. Of course, knock on wood, nothing changes here, but if you go over to the Money Puck odds, the Wings currently have a 51.6% chance of making the dance. And look, I'll say this, man, 50-50, that's fine. If you were a casino game and 50-50 were your odds, that'd be the best odds on the table. You take that any day of the week if you were offered that back in September, for example. So, Detroit Red Wings fans, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about the most underrated and unexpected redemption story, the craziest thing of a revived career that we could have seen or expected with the Wings. Not Lyon, not Kane, not DeBrincat, not Raymond, not Seider, not whomever. It is Ben freaking Chiarot. And if you're a Montreal Canadiens fan who had stumbled upon this video, what are your thoughts about this guy being as loved as he has been over the past few days? Did you expect this? Do you think this existed in his profile the entire time? Does this surprise you? Thoughts in the comment section below about Ben Chiarot and his overall development. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.